Jason Phelps of Phelps Calls on the line today. And Jason, appreciate your time, man. Looking forward to talking elk
thanks
with
for
you.
having me, buddy.
Absolutely, man. We are just a few months out from another elk season, bow season kicking off again. So the crew at bowhunting.com wanted to tap in and just see what's new with you guys. We've seen some new things in the works from calls and man, just hear some stories and get guys fired up about elk season and the arrival of it coming here. And like I said, just another month and a half, I guess we are now. So tell me about the new and the latest from Phelps as far as this new Bugle Tube we're hearing a little bit about. Something that's, as far as I understand, something that's not been done, at least in this way. And so tell us about the latest from Phelps.
Yeah, so I can't take credit for the idea. I was given this idea by another designer engineer. He said, "Hey, have you ever thought about using aluminum for Bugle Tube?" And I'm like, "No, not really." You know, there's me knowing manufacturing fairly well. Like, it was going to be a difficult part to manufacture, aside from cutting a baseball bat. You know, aluminum baseball bat, hollowing it out, and using something like that. It was very tough. And that was really the key to figuring this thing out, is how we're going to get these built on a mass-produced scale. But we he sent me some prototypes, and he had filed for a provisional patent. And so I went through all this, worked with my sales and marketing director, Dirk Durham, who's a very accomplished elk caller. And we went back and forth, had some ideas, and said it was worth moving forward on. It had some warrants. Number one, it's able to achieve a higher resonance frequency, both on the models that we put together, vibration theory, and just to the human ear, it rings at a higher frequency.
Right.
The tube is louder. It's louder than anything we've ever did with plastic. The other thing we were able to do and accomplish, and it's not what we set out to do, but some of our plastic tubes, which are very, very good tubes, and they're still going to, call in a bunch of elk. Sure. They're loud. If you're walking through the timber, through the brush, and you got that tube, clanking or dinging off of trees, it gives a pretty hollow thump. We incorporated a neoprene sleeve onto this aluminum tube, and the call's dead. So it's a silent call. It's louder than anything else we've produced. It hits a higher frequency, which through all of our hunting, elk hunting years and years and years, tends to give you better results in getting a response. And then it still sounds just as good as the plastic tubes. We still got that deep resonance. It sounds elky. And so to us, it was kind of the perfect design, even though up front, I'm like, man, I don't know if I want to go down this. And then the kicker, the thing that may even sell better than the metal Bugle Tube alone, is we've been working on an attachment, basically our external Bugle Tube mouthpiece, for guys that can't run a diaphragm. There's been a ton of success out there from other companies making something that's as easy just to blow through. Right. So me and Dirk had set out over 2.5 years ago to use our very popular amp diaphragm frame, but utilize that in an attachment where all somebody has to do is basically place their lip in a location and blow. So we were able to pair that with this metal Bugle Tube. And when you put those two together, there's not a louder, more accurate tube on the market. It maintains very, very elky sounds. It doesn't necessarily stair step up the octaves. It keeps everything together and sounds very elky. And so we're probably just as proud of that mouthpiece as we are the tube. But when you put them together, you've got two very good products that whether you're a good diaphragm caller or not, I think you can still use that easy bugler out in the woods when you're chasing elk around.
Yeah, very nice. Well, that's cool because you see a lot of mouthpieces out there on the market over the years, and they had that typical sound. Whereas if you heard someone across the canyon from you, the next mountain over, you knew, hey, there's somebody stair stepping their bugle tube, and they sound like a person over there blowing a bugle tube. And so that's an interesting point you mentioned. It's got some solid sounds to it as far as that.
And Dirk put a video together. Basically, he had two metal bugle tubes in his hand. One, he had a diaphragm in his mouth. He was pulling in and out, and then he would blow on the easy bugler side by side. And anybody without a very, very trained ear, maybe a little bit on the chuckles, you would have been hard pressed to differentiate between running a diaphragm versus the easy bugler. And so that's really what we set out to do. We wanted our chuckles and grunts to finally be realistic, not only the exhale, but the inhale, which a lot of external bugles don't let you do. You need to have that cadence and be able to go back and forth, and then to be able to lip ball on this thing and get all of the sounds that we wanted to get and not be limited to just, the fluty external bugle sound that's out there. So we're really excited.
Very cool. Now, just to be clear, this is a mouthpiece that can pop in and out. They can blow a mouth call through it, opened up, or pop that on, off, however, as needed, right?
Yep, we've got 2 different attachments. So you can run the Easy Bugler, which utilizes a rubber gasket and a amp diaphragm flipped upside down. Or you can, it locks on tight with a little twist and a pull. You can get that on, and then we've got a flared mouthpiece. Same thing, put it on, twist, and now you've got a wider flared opening for running your diaphragm. There is a third option. We don't recommend it. We're not going to promote it. You can actually run the aluminum tube just as is. It's just got a very small opening. I don't want anybody to maybe cut themselves. Everything's smooth, bead blasted, but there is, so I'm not going to tell anybody to do that or that it's a possibility, but I mean, I did it and it still provides a very good bugle. So yeah, we recommend getting either the Easy Bugler or the flared, or both if you want to interchange back and forth.
Gotcha. Jason, do you have one there on hand? You can, I know we're in a, you're in a room there and may not have the sound and acoustics and all that, but you have one on hand. You can throw some sounds at us, give us an idea.
I do.
Right.
So here I've switched out to the flared mouthpiece, really comfortable with a diaphragm. If you're hunting big canyon country, big wide open flat country, and you're just really trying to get, we always kind of call it play Marco Polo. We just want to get a response out of these dang things. Right. Like that Easy Bugler is going to get you, 50% more distance on that bugle.
Yeah.
And we're just looking to get a response to start the game.
That's right.
Yeah.
And tell me the cost on that one there. Is that, what's that coming in at?
So the flared mouthpiece, which comes with the reed, the gasket, the piece already assembled, we're at $69.99 on the Easy Bugler. And then with the flared mouthpiece, we're down to $62.99. That's one of the downsides to the aluminum. It's not just injection molded plastic. So it was one of those things where it's like, as we went through this, like, can we get, our elk hunters willing to pay this? They're not your waterfowl call guys that don't care to drop 130. They don't blink an eye. Elk calls, we've kept it, but I think it's priced about right, and some of the features and the things you get out of this aluminum tube, it's in the right spot and should do well. Yeah,
very cool. Give us some insight, maybe your top, I don't want to put a number on it, not top 5 thing, but your top handful of things you would just encourage new. I say new, man, there's a lot of guys, the deal. They travel out west every year and they've been doing it for years, still trying to secure that first tag. And so give us some insight what guys can be doing to prepare for that encounter this year.
Yeah, to be successful, elk knowledge is king, but you're not going to, being a new hunter and not having experience, you can read all the books, you can read all the articles that, a few of us put out. There's all kinds of stuff, but elk knowledge, in my opinion, comes from like proofing it on the ground and coming up with your own system. So I won't necessarily go into elk knowledge, but knowing as much as you can about, recent sign, elk scat, tracks, all this stuff, like being a good woodsman will help you on that hunt. Because if you're in an area where, the elk crap is a week old, there's no rubs, from a year prior, like being able to figure out, do I need to be here? Do I need to invest any more time in this area? Because somewhere in that unit, there's an elk that's ready to play the game, or the elk that were here have moved somewhere. Are you smart enough to go find them? So there's no really good advice I can give aside from like recognizing when it's time to pull the plug on an area and not put all of your, a lot of guys will come out west, or even the guys out west already will make a plan to go to another state or go to another unit that they don't have time to scout. Yeah. And they'll throw all of their eggs in one basket. I'm going to hunt from this trailhead every day until I kill an elk. And they'll do the same thing. They'll walk out, trail A, they'll wait, they'll go call out there for half hour, and they'll walk back trail A and be to their truck by 11 for a sandwich, or whatever it may be. Yeah. And if it's not working, like as much as I'm there to have fun and hang out with my buddies, like we're there to kill elk. And I kind of always joke, like, I'm going to have more fun if I kill an elk. Like, we're going to have fun regardless. But the trips where we kill an elk at the end always seem to be funner anyways. So if my intent's to have fun, I'm going to go out there and try to kill elk. So number one is just put as much thought into where the elk need to be to live, where they're currently at, and don't hunt elk that aren't there. Like, it sounds super cliche to say don't hunt where elk aren't, because you're not going to kill anything there. The other thing is, on the other hand, don't leave elk to find elk. Like, if you're on elk, like, pulling the plug unless you've just screwed them up too many times, or they're, you know, spooked, or they've just got like a perfect spot where the wind's never going to be in your favor. Like then maybe leave, but until you've given it a good go, don't leave your spot. So that's kind of number one. Number two is confidence. A lot of guys will go to the elk woods with a pretty good, you know, knowledge base of what it takes to kill an elk, like what they think needs to happen for it to work. And if I talk to them at the trailhead, I bet you 90% of the time I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. Like that would probably work if there's elk in that area. And then what I think happens, and I'm very fortunate that my group of buddies that we now elk hunt with, they're all, you know, seasoned hardened. They've been out there forever. They've got that. We all are very good elk hunters, so we don't run into this a lot. But I think early on when I hunted with some new guys, is they're very, very timid to get close to the elk with a bow in their hand. It scares them. They don't want to scare the elk, so they're not willing to push. They're not willing to call because they don't think they're quite a good enough caller, and they might scare them off. They will, you know, sometimes question whether it's worth dropping 1,500 feet into a canyon because it might not work out, and then they just have to climb out. So the confidence in knowing that, and people may call it arrogance, people may call it being cocky. I just hunt with this mentality that every day I'm out there, if I'm there to kill an elk, and I'm going to kill an elk that morning. And then if that doesn't work that night, my plan should be good enough that I have 100% confidence that they're going to be out there and I'm going to go kill that elk. Yeah. And to kind of roll back, be confident in the wind and your ability to just get the wind right and get close to these things. Now, I've called a bull in from a mile away. I've called a bull in from more than a mile away. 90% of the bulls I call in probably start between 100 to 150 yards away from me by the time I'm done moving on them. So I'm not taking anything away from guys that we can call elk away from a long ways away, but what I'm going to say with some pretty good confidence is you're going to call a lot more bulls in the closer you can get to them and cut that distance.
Right.
So number one, have confidence to get close. Number two, have confidence to blow your call. You don't need to be a world-class elk caller. You don't have to sound the best. You just have to sound like an elk, or an elk that is, you know, essentially taking off the bull that you want to call in. You know, if you're trying to call in a love-struck satellite bull, like it's not going to take more than a couple, you know, crappy sounding cow calls to get him to commit. Right. If you're working a herd bull, like you might need to get him ticked off. You might need to get close. You might need to be, you know, there's different tactics, but don't be afraid to go in. And we always relate it to fishing, like throw some bait at them. Like, you don't know if it's going to be a spinner, if it's going to be a buzz bait, if it's going to be, you know, a surface water bait. Like, you don't know what the fish are biting, and just take his temperature. Like, yeah, did that work? No. Did that work? Oh, he's answering that. Let's stick with that. Right. So be confident. Give him something, unless it's in a great spot and stock spot and you don't want to make a call. Otherwise, if you're in cover and, you know, the way that elk work, that bull wants to come see the cow that's calling to him, or that bull wants to come see the bull. And a lot of times, if you don't set up right, you're not going to get that bull to kind of completely 180 what happens in nature. You know, he expects that cow to come to him. Yep. So you've got to do a lot of things right there. So number two is confidence. And number three, it goes without saying, but a lot of people don't think about it, is time. Yeah. You have to set aside some time, you know, and we used to hunt a lot of weekends when I was younger, didn't have a bunch of vacation accrued or needed to be at school on Monday or Tuesday. You know, I would push it as far as I could, but eventually I had to get to school, you know, college or high school. But time is critical. And I think a lot of people may look at the success that some people have, and I would be willing to bet that 95% of the guys that are out there killing elk every year aren't just weekend hunting anymore. They're spending a week, 2 weeks. They're committing a lot of their vacation, a lot of their free time to their success. And I'm the first one to admit, you know, me and Dirk together in New Mexico, you know, two very good elk hunters, two very good elk callers. We took it down to the last 2 days to kill our elk. Nothing was going right. No matter how good we think we are, no matter what has worked in the past, like, we just got our butts kicked over and over and over until it finally worked. And so what if we had only gave ourselves, you know, a 6-day hunt needed to be in another, we would have never tagged out. And so, you know, I'm as transparent as can be. Like, time is our biggest, you know, factor in being successful every year. We're just out there a bunch. We you know, set a bunch of time aside where we make sure that we're out in the woods chasing elk. And that's really more than anything, even maybe more than our knowledge of elk, even our calling ability, just time in the field. Like eventually, even if you don't have a clue what you're doing, you might stumble into one just if you spend enough time
Right.
out there.
Right.
Chasing bugles or sitting water. Like eventually, you might find success. So yeah, spend a lot of time. Be confident, and then make sure you're investing the time that you do have in spots that have the potential to pan out for you.
Yeah, man, some great solid advice, and just the basics, man. That's just it. It's just the stuff that some people say that's no brainer stuff, but like you said, you've got to have them, and
Yep.
and there are so many people that, like you said, they just pump everything in that one spot. They put their vacation into that one spot, and it's like, man, they're not seeing the sign, but they're like, hey, we're already here. But that's what they say. That's the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. When it's not
Yep.
happening, you better figure out how to make it happen. Good stuff, man. Good input. I really appreciate you today. Tell me again where we can find you personally, be it social media. What are folks looking for, as well as a website to find calls?
Yeah, so Instagram, we're at Phelps Game Calls. That's kind of it was my personal page, kind of the business page now, but we're still kind of running it. Jason Phelps on Facebook, and then we have the Phelps Game Calls page on Facebook. The website is www.phelpsgamecalls.com, and we're available on all those channels. Like if you try to get a hold of us, we'll get back to you one way or another.
Dude, I can't appreciate you enough. Say thank you enough for your time today, and wish you the best this fall. I look forward to seeing what comes out of your camp there. And God bless you. Appreciate your time. I'll let you get back to your grind there, keeping things rolling.
Yeah.
And really appreciate you introducing us to the latest
Yeah.
products. And I look forward to checking things out in the days to come.
Yeah, thanks for having me, buddy.
All right, Jason. We'll see you next time, man. We'll be in touch. Thank you.
Yeah, bye.